Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are in the room and those of us who are joining us outside, hello. And that will be a couple of seconds delay for those people outside. Obviously, hello to everyone, but the people, you know what I meant. Now, the plan for the next hour is we're going to just showcase a little bit of late night reading. We're going to showcase a little bit of stuff that that three of us are working on. What we've always done at Lavecon is try to, on a Saturday night, to sort of support the different projects that people are doing, that they're engaged in, and give people a bit of a snippet of the stuff that they're working on and trying to finish, trying to do something with. So what we're going to kick off with is being entirely selfish. I'm going to go first, and followed by me, or following me will be Darren Grey, and following Darren will be Kevin Elliot, and we're going to read through three different excerpts that from things that we're, let's say, currently doing. The premise of the piece I'm going to read is it's a science fiction novel that I've been working on for a while. A couple of you have heard the story about what happened with this, so I'll explain it. The title of this novel is Judgment Earth, and Judgment Earth is about 45,000 words done, so I'm kind of about halfway through. And I was going great guns writing it. The premise was, what if an alien came to Earth and decided or had orders to wipe out humanity and to give the planet back to its natural habitat. And so how that alien would do that is it would come down, it would infect all the world's major political leaders to make them make really bad decisions. And I was writing this in 2015, and then I carried on writing it in 2016, and then we had a Brexit vote. And then we had an American election, and Donald Trump became the president, and reality jumped the shark. So essentially, the premise of my story was kind of taken over by how crap things had happened in real life. But since then, I've been sort of researching American television. I've been looking at a few ideas, and I think I've got an idea of how to finish it. but we'll see. So what I want to do is share an excerpt with you from Chapter 1. So bear in mind, as I say, there is an alien coming down to Earth, if you know, and this alien is going to try and take over. Yeah, all right. Well, you know, it is, but you've got the gist. Chapter 1, Arrival. I remember everything of what happened. The memories are not mine, but it is as if they were. Such a strange sensation, but useful to my needs. Perhaps these creatures are not as different from us as we first thought. What did they say it was? A 416. Oh, right. Jane Thompson sighed and ran her fingers through her hair. 8:30 at night, 3 hours into her shift, blue lights and sirens clearing the roads as her partner, PC Mike Stockley, drove them both to the marked location on the patrol car's GPS. A 416 means a violent crime in progress, Mike. You know I don't remember the codes. Just as well I do then. Yep. A 416 on Old Crest Road. A line of houses more used to the occasional argument over who'd cut whose hedge or whether the postman had mixed up his letters. The average age of the residents was well over 50, probably over 60. A violent crime didn't seem likely. But the dispatch team didn't get things like this wrong. If they did, resources were wasted and people might die. In this era of permanent cuts, heaven forbid, Jane thought. Headlights dodged to the right and left as Stockley arrowed them through the traffic. He'd only joined the Wiltshire Police Force 6 weeks ago after completing his training at Hendon. Jane had been partnered with him as a mentor. 6 years ago, she'd been the one needing a guiding hand. I can't believe it's been that long. The car began to slow as they drew near. Stockley flashed headlights at the dawdling white van ahead of them, and it sprang into life, moving off and leaving a space between two parked cars on the street. He pulled over, slotted in between them. Number 27, wasn't it? Yeah. Jane picked up her hat from the back seat and got out of the car. After a moment, Stockley joined her. It's about 5 houses down, he said. Let's go then. They moved off together. Jane with her hand on the taser at her belt. The training had been 3 days around 6 months ago, and she'd never had to use it, but 416 might mean anything. It didn't hurt to be prepared. The terraced houses gave way to a small alley. Jane unclipped her flashlight and shone it into the darkness. There was something slumped against the wall. She turned to Stockley, whose face was set in a grim expression. Want me to go first? He asked. Might be best, Jane replied. He moved past her and down the footpath. Jane followed, keeping the torch trained ahead of them both. Hello? Are you hurt? It's all right, we're police officers. There was no reply. As they neared, the torchlight picked out more details. The body lying against the wall was a man. He wore a stained overcoat and a battered hat. Jane could see his long, unkempt beard peering out from beneath and noticed 2 bulging plastic bags, one either side of him. I'm sorry, my friend, but you can't sleep here, Stockley muttered. Hand went to the radio on his belt. QJ6 to control. We're at location of 416. Be advised, no sign of activity so far. Understood, QJ6, was the garbled reply. Poor fella, Jane said. She knelt down and immediately felt something wet soak into the knee of her trousers. Shit, what? Her torch revealed a long, dribbling cut across the man's throat. The rest of his body was covered in blood. He's been knifed. We need to... Stockley cried out, and his reassuring presence was gone. Jane felt something move past her, and there was a dull thud. She brought the torch up and saw a thin figure crouched over Mike further down the alley. Police, back away, she shouted. The figure turned towards her. Its elongated head, protruding jaw, and fang-sharp teeth looked like no person she'd ever seen. Instinctively, she reached for the taser. Back away, she repeated. Don't make me... Without warning, the creature leapt at her. She screamed and fell back, feeling her radio shatter under her weight. She thrashed and struggled, but long nails gripped the side of her head beneath the jawbone. She felt pressure in her head, and then the nails penetrated her skin. She stared up into wide yellow eyes as everything went white. This body is acceptable. I bend forwards and lick the skin of the human. My tongue forms into a sampling tube and burrows under the eyelid, tasting and analyzing the lubricating fluid. Next, a sampling inspection of the oratory opening and the odor sampler. All 3 indicate higher than expected sodium levels. The sampling probes beneath my nails indicate female. a more acceptable form for my purpose, but this will need confirming with a full diagnostic. The binary gender divide of this planet is encoded into the most of its self-determined organic populace. The social imbalance this divide promotes amongst the dominant species is pronounced, rooted in its earliest cultural awareness. An institutional preference for physical strength and uninformed decision makers is one of the reasons the Council has taken against these humans. Males exhibit more of these tendencies by aggregate, so for the purpose of concealment, a female form will serve me well. Once the gender is confirmed, the memories are absorbed along with the organic signature. The process is a fascinating experience as the echo of her dying mind takes up residency in mine. I will have access to her memories and experiences she did. Her knowledge of law enforcement logistics is immediately useful. If the bodies are left here, then they will be discovered and an investigation immediately launched. If removed, the first creature will not be missed, but the second will. His absence must be explained and accounted for. Both personas may prove of use later, but for now, they will be a hindrance to my effort. When the probe has completed its cycle, I begin an inventory of the crude technology. Electrically powered tools with different specialisms. I must master these, but the woman's knowledge is accessible for now and will suffice. The radio she carried is damaged. The combined gravitational stress of her organic mass and my own falling onto the mechanism of it has damaged both the casing and the delicate internal mechanism. However, the one carried by her companion is intact, and I appropriate this as a replacement. As the probes begin flesh instruction, I strip the bodies of their garments. A further analysis of the composition is essential. I must understand the purpose behind each design, along with its function, if I am to best assess the societies I will encounter. Already as I dress, my own form feels bloated and strange. The synthetic manufacture of the woman's chemical composition is wholly different. The organic processes are crude and clearly impeding any ability to rationalize and evaluate situational phenomena. Perhaps I chose wrong. I turn to the remains of the male. No. At least the woman is aware of the flaws generated by her physical form. From what little data I accrued from him, it is clear the males see no shortcomings to their chemically influenced perception of reality. I clamber awkwardly over the ground, dragging the bodies so they lie flat. Each will need to be treated. As I work, the probes are still feeding me information. The surface of this alley is a manufactured paste made from particulates and a binding agent. The process is wasteful and poisonous to the planet's atmospheric balance, but it is popular and the consequences are generally ignored. I switch off the probes and activate my chemical excretors. My new fingertips quickly become slick, and I wipe them on the exposed skin of the bodies. The reaction is appropriately fast, and flesh quickly begins to dissolve. A second compound is required for the fabrics, metal, and plastics, but this is quickly calculated. The most difficult part is ensuring my own newly manufactured flesh and acquired clothing is unaffected. I watch as the head of the woman, known as Jane, dissolves. The eyeballs pulp and boil, the bone and brain tissue quickly become viscous liquid, and they turn to gas as their chemical compositions are unraveled. I bear her no ill will, and acting as a witness to the evaporation of her remains seems fitting according to the rituals of these people. There are words, too. Rest in peace. Speech is strange and unfamiliar to me in this form. I will need to rely on the woman's echo more than I had hoped. There are some technical tools I will need to access which cannot be biologically processed, like communications with the ship and emergency defensive systems which may be required. I put the adaptive mechanism to work at constructing a suitable artifact to house these functions. A small metal band is recommended. Apparently humans wear these on their fingers. There is a significance over which is appropriate. The central digits will draw too much attention, so the minimum appendage on the weaker limb is advised. When the bodies and remains are gone, I stand up on unfamiliar legs. I have a short metal tool in my hand, appropriated from the male. It acts as a passkey for a vehicle, permitting me access, and is a required component for initiating the internal propulsion system, another inefficient and damaging chemical reaction process. The woman is familiar with the piloting of this transport, but has little knowledge of its inner workings. Neither, I sense, does the man, despite fractional memories of him claiming the opposite. I walk back down the path to the car, get in on the driver's side, and access the woman's skills. Other memories are tied to the knowledge, and I see flashes of a certificate and smiling older person. Family relations? Yes. That's who they are. For a moment, the experiences are overwhelming, but they gradually subside. I turn the key and the engine starts. I pull away and guide the vehicle towards another memory. Home. Sorry, it is a little gruesome. I probably should have said it's a little gruesome. Not as gruesome as, but it's a little gruesome in terms of what's there. Okay, right. So now, hopefully, Simon is going to get me out of this. Or can I just, no, it's fine. I can just, if I flick this on, that work? So that should work. There we go, great. I can just switch over between the two. So hopefully I can now stand up, give Darren the seat. And there you go, sir. Yeah. Now, don't do it the way I did it, because we realized that that's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You see, yeah. I
have vague thoughts of attaching a probe, which is going to leap into my eyelid and suck out my juice. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
it's
okay. I just put it on upside down. That was what I was going to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, Darren Grey.
Hello. Am I on this thing? Hello. What? Hello. Right. So, hello, I'm Darren Grey. I'm going to read a little piece that's written for the computer game Ancient Domains of Mystery, which is a fantasy roguelike RPG. This is from later in the game, after the player achieves a quest to find out the location of a place called the Scintillating Cave, and they go to the Mad Minstrel, who will deliver them information about this. It's called The Red Rooster at Dawn. I sing to you now, Chapter 1, The Lord of the Land of the Burning Sun. Jack Naguire, city of hate, there I was born, such was my fate. A jester I was to the Lord Al-Hakrast, whose empire was mighty, evil and vast. Great was the power he held in his hands, and ever his evil did spread to new lands. His dominion was wide over the desert southeast, where his rule governed over every race and beast. But he was never happy with his mighty reign. Always he sought for some greater gain. Secrets he searched for, of new powers to wield. And finally, one day his fate was sealed. Deep in the heart of the northern wood, once a magical city stood. Now it was a dungeon ruined by war, and Fo Nawagu was no more. But a scroll was discovered, ancient and creased, scribed by the old race now deceased. A weapon it showed that surpassed all else, that might even threaten the gods themselves. The power it held could attain the supreme. It could finally achieve man's greatest dream. Omnipotence, the Lord spake, eternal life. This I will get, though great be the strife. He planned, therefore, this secret to gain, by travelling west to the Draculor chain. And a secret he held, he kept it to all but me, his only companion on the long journey. He chose me because I was clever and loyal, and my fear of him would never spoil. I was to entertain and serve to my best, and fight lesser monsters whilst master did rest. I sing to you now Chapter 2, The Light of the Northern Kingdom of Rue. A great sage there was, the sorcerer of light, and renowned through Ancardia for his power and might, as a wielder of magics great and raw, and as an avatar mighty for the forces of law. Lubath-Igaz was the man's name, though few now remember his greatness and fame. A young man did follow him, who named him master, and you may well have met him. His name's Kilavaster. Now Lubaf did know of the city of hate, and his existence was ever a scourge very great, so oft did he spy on the daily running of the evil city with magic and cunning. Thus did he learn of Al-Hakrast's quests, and after he never again could rest, for evil immortal was a sore thought, and he was determined to stop it from being sought. Then in his mind he made a terrible vow, that with all of his strength he would not allow the plans of Al-Hakrast to flower. He swore to stop it with all of his power. That promise he did in the end achieve, and at the memory of it I do greatly grieve. So come close now and listen up well, as with sorrow this tale I shall only once tell. I sing to you now Chapter 3, the hidden secret of divinity. Lubaf and Kelavaster set off in haste through forests deep and deserts of waste, relentlessly tracking Al-Hakrast's trail through the day and night without fail. But my master tarried along the road. On the ancient scroll his mind did bode, always researching with some hope of gleaning the secret of the trident and its meaning. There was a tome found alongside the scroll with guidance on how to attain and control the power that the old scroll could set free, imprisoned by chaos for eternity. But the text was very old and battered, with many pages torn and tattered beyond reading, thus much was lost and could not be recovered at any cost. A weapon spoke of, some great artifact, but it was hard to define its nature exact. A gate it did mention to the chaos plane, and within was some terrible power or bane. 3 items were needed to pass through the gate, but the trident was needed to seal divine fate. A red rooster was mentioned, but the meaning was hidden, and throughout the text was uncertainty written. Ever we neared the Draculor chain, which the book did hint at again and again as the source of great power and secrets old, where the gate could be found in depths untold. I sing to you now Chapter 4, The Battle on the Edge of Draculor. On a cold night we scaled a mountain high, and from its top we could there descry a village nestled in the hills to the south. We knew we were close now to the chain's mouth. And suddenly my lord stood up erect. Some power nearby I do detect. But too late was he to see Lubaf's aim, as on a sudden we were hit by a great ball of flame. When the smoke cleared, I gasped in fright, as before us stood the sorcerer of light. In his hands was raised a staff of power, and on his face was a fearsome glower. "Calavasta," he said, "search the bard. If he dares resist, then hit him hard. We need the ancient tome and the scroll. They must not be held by such a chaotic soul." But though my fear of the sorcerer was very high, it was not as great as my lord nearby. So when the young man came, I tried to flee, but he caught me and struck me down quickly. He grabbed my pack as I lay on the ground, and the old book therein he quickly found. But his eyes met mine as my bag he sacked, and I could see with guilt his mind was racked. For with the followers of law, such is the way. Don't question orders, and always obey. Foolish are those who follow such teaching, and I could see Calavasta fell foul of such preaching. But the old scroll was never entrusted to me. My lord always kept it personally, so when my pack had been searched and thrown away, Lubaf turned on my lord, who stood at bay. "Alhakrast," he said, "this is the end. Against my power you cannot contend. Hand over the scroll, and your death will be faster. Refuse, and your soul will be faced with disaster." "Never," was the answer. "The scroll is mine. Only I shall have the power divine. I will sooner be tortured, maimed, or dead than give up the secret of the Rooster Red." "Rooster Red? Of what do you speak? Tell me the meaning, you vile, dirty sneak. Tell me," he screamed. "I have to know." And his bright, fierce eyes with wrath did glow. In anger, Alhacrast's head he smote, and he grabbed my lord tight by the throat. Alhacrast dropped to his knees with a yell, but I saw then the look in his eyes was fell. "So, Lubaf, I see what you're after. You can't hide that from me," he said with grim laughter. "You yourself want the secret of the scroll. Your old age, I guess, is taking its toll." With sudden rage, Lubaf raised his staff high, and I thought that my laster would surely die. But then came a wind from the west, low and faint, and on that wind was the scent of taint. Lubaf's power did suddenly wane, and Alhacrast found his energy gain. Rising, he raised his hands high and prayed on the forces of chaos to bring him aid. The clouds turned black, the west wind did howl, and the smell of taint turned hideously foul. 8 chaos fiends appeared in sight, and leapt on Lubaf with all their might. That dreadful battle I did not get to see, as seizing our chance we fled then quickly. To the high mountain village we made our way, whilst the sun sank low at the end of the day. I sing to you now Chapter 5, The Forging of the Deadly Silver Scythe. It was late in the eve when we reached the town. We found there a passage leading down into the heart of the mountains and out to the west, and we thought to traverse it without any rest. But since our encounter, my lord had schemed. We should leave a taunt for Lubaf, he deemed, to lure him with the red rooster as bait, set him an evil trap and wait. Light everlasting was the message addressed to, but in the ancient tongue it said Fo Nawagu, in memory of the city whence the scroll came, and as a mock to Lubaf's much-renowned name. Then we fled the city and hid our escape, and my master's plans we began to shape. For with the right preparation he could outfight anyone, even the sorcerer of light. The next day was the first of the month with no moon, when good forces waned, whilst chaos did boon. Further to that was the Draculor chain, where the powers of evil did seem to gain. Alhacrast sensed the taint in the air, at which all powers of law must despair. There was something special about this land, and he sought to use it to gain the upper hand. I was bade to make a banner high, with a rooster emblazoned in silver dye. All through the night I worked and I strove, and by morning a standard of brilliance I wove. But my lord's task was far more great, to make a weapon that could violate the defenses of even the sorcerer of light, a weapon that could surely win the fight. Some items he bought from the mountain village, for others he needed we did kill and pillage. At midnight he began with struggle to make the weapon mighty, for much was at stake. With magical fires of heat high and vast, he began to smith, forge, and cast a weapon in the form of a mighty scythe, through which chaotic energies would twist and writhe. The shaft was smithed of solid metal, eternium twisted and thorned like nettle. Dark magics ran along its length, filling it with an evil strength. The blade was exceptionally long yet lean, with force and sharpness exceedingly keen. In the forging was a potion of chaos raw, to fill lawful forces with fear and awe. It developed a pale white luminous glow that changed and corrupted both wielder and foe, and held by my lord, tall and slim, he looked like death incarnate, dark and grim. It was named the moon sickle for its deathly chill, and I know that the weapon does exist still, but its power and strength has now deceased, since its maker and master has now deceased. I sing to you now chapter 6, The Red Rooster Rises with Bright Magics. When dawn was approaching, our work was complete. Astounding had been Alhacra's feat, and though weary, he did not cease to prepare ere the sun arose in the eastern air. Monsters he summoned of all shape and height, troll and ogre, ghoul and wight, chaotic creatures, corrupt and dement. He summoned all till his power was spent. We made our camp on a low, clear hill, and our view was wide over the forest still. When the sky in the east began to glow red, I raised my standard high above my head. Over the image of the rooster I did pour a potion of mana to increase its splendor. It shone and sparkled as I held it high, and the blood-red sun struck the die. Across the woods the red rooster did glow, a brilliant lure for our deadly foe. But the forest was utterly silent and still, and the morning air was deathly chill. From the east we heard a sound like a drum, a distant, long, and deep thum. We saw a shadow far off in the wood, moving slowly closer to where we stood. As the sun rose further, the shape became clear, a hulking giant without peer, with fearsome power and enormous height. It was the Emperor Moloch in all its might. Never again have I been so scared as when I realized Lubaf had also prepared. In darkness and treachery and sheer desperation, he had summoned the ultimate abomination. To you now, chapter 7, Lubaf's Vow and the Wrath of Heaven. In blindness and folly a vow he had made that could not now be forgotten or stayed. All of his power he had sworn to use to ensure that Alhacrast would lose. But now he found his powers were weak, whilst those of chaos did greatly peak. He saw now the only way to win was to commit a terrible and grievous sin. Long had he studied the forces of evil in his many battles against powers primeval. Much he knew of secrets terrible and dark, unspeakable demons and horrors stark. He could sense the power in the Draculor chain to help boost those forces, corrupt and profane. His mind now turned to such thoughts in despair, and so for this evil he began to prepare. He told Calavasta that alone he would fight, and bade him stay in the village that night to study deeply the book they'd acquired, in the hope of finding the knowledge desired. Deep he travelled into the forest dark, and there at midnight he began to embark on an ancient and terrible cursed rite to summon a monster of unequalled might. From the dark clouds above a light rain sputtered, as black sigils he scribed and fell words he uttered. It was then he committed his most despicable act, as he readied the sacrifices for his terrible pact. 2 children he had kidnapped from a nearby abode, and to this place they'd been unconsciously towed. Now their bodies were covered with symbols of hate as they lay on the ground, bound and prostrate. Lubaf raised his hands and began the incantation, his heart now hardened in determination. He bathed the children in scorching flame, and in an ancient tongue he began to proclaim, I call on thee, power of chaos supreme. Hear my sacrifices cry and scream. Their souls I offer for thou to devour. I summon thee with all of my power. But as the children died, there was a sudden crack of thunder, and the night sky above was torn asunder. Mortal, boomed a voice, thou hast betrayed thy master. Thou art my champion no longer. I doom thee to disaster. Divine energy came searing through the air and struck Lubaf in a roaring flare. His robes were torn, his body battered, his staff was broken, his mind was shattered. His true suffering was just about to begin as he looked up upon a giant demonic grin. That hulking figure of towering might stood before him with an aura of terror and fright. "Master," came the voice, mocking and chill, "you have summoned me. What is your will?" With trembling fear the old man did speak. "Stop, Alhakrast! Give me what I seek!" From the Emperor Moloch a deep laugh erupted, and it spoke in its voice, vile and corrupted. "The ancient scroll I almost certainly collect, and at the elder god's wishes I have sworn to protect. But you, I know what you wish to acquire. My eyes can see clearly your desire. Old age and death gnaw at your mind. It is eternal youth you wish to find. Miserable mortal, that I can bestow, but its terrible cost you shall shortly know." Demonic claws wrapped round Lubaf's head, and he screamed as the Moloch's hand glowed red. The hair turned black on his hair and beard, his skin was smooth, his wrinkles disappeared, but at the same time as he lost his physical age, all knowledge and memory was stripped from the sage. He was reduced to a gibbering and frothing mess, and the Moloch laughed to see his distress. The demon turned and strode slowly away, leaving Lubaf babbling in eternal dismay. I sing to you now Chapter 8, the final song in these miseries of fate. The Emperor Moloch tore through our troops with ease, bashing them away like they were fleas. Most quickly gave up and fled, the others were very soon all dead. But my master stood firm, ready to fight. When the demon approached, he gripped his side tight. With sudden speed, he rushed forward and struck, and the Moloch's fist he avoided with a duck. 3 times more he smote hard with his blade, and the demon's attacks he did narrowly evade. But his strikes were not enough to pierce the armor of that monster fierce. Then the Moloch struck with strength profound, and my master's blood spilled over the ground. The moon sickle was knocked clear away, and the monster's shadow fell over his prey. My master quickly twisted up, casting a spell, and around him a thick rain of acid fell. The Emperor Moloch did smoke and sizzle as the rain reduced down to a drizzle, but it merely grunted before raising a foot high, and brought it down hard where my fat master did lie. Alhakrast struggled with magical power to hold back the force of that monstrous tower. "Mortal," spake the demon, "you are too weak. You are not worthy of the power you seek." But no matter my lord's terrible plight, Alhakrast refused to concede the fight. "I will not give up," my master did yell. "Accursed fiend, get ye back to hell. I will die before I abandon my quest." "Then die," said the Emperor Moloch into test. And so the demon rained down an unstoppable punch that smashed into my master with a terrible crunch. Sadness overwhelmed me as the earth was stained red, and I knew that my master was surely dead. From Alhakrast's corpse the monster then stole the ancient and now crumpled scroll. "Lord," spake the demon, "I shall now do as bidden, and ensure that this item is forever hidden." He then set off southeast at a slow pace, and though I sorely wanted to give chase, I was weak and grieved for my master still. So I lay there crying in the morning chill. I buried my lord and made a small mound of stones upon which was crowned the banner of the red rooster bright, in memory of my master's might. By midday my mourning was finished, and I set off before the tracks were diminished to follow the Emperor Moloch's trail, without fear of what this would entail. East and south I travelled swift, and then the trail did westwards shift. I followed it further till dusk was nigh, and then the monster I did descry. A great burning tower lit up the eve. The shadow of his great form I could perceive in the distance, and so I followed with care to see where the demon would take its lair. All day and night I followed without rest, keeping my distance as it travelled west, over mountains into a valley by night, then west and south by dawn's early light. It came to the foot of a mountain high, but the sheer walls the monster did defy. With his bare hands it crushed through the rock, crumpling it as if it were chalk. It burrowed a tunnel deep below, and with a corruptive aura it began to glow and glitter with scintillating light. But I did not enter, as I was frozen with fright. I fled the cave, though I remember it still, amongst many memories dread and chill. Even after many years I cannot forget such a terrible and abominable threat. Aye, I have travelled far and wide since then, seen the passing of countless lives of men, in battles and wars, in places of dread, in hells of madness where dark paths led. But now I have turned to the resting place of my master, whom none could ever replace. And though for vengeance I have not the power, perhaps, adventure, it is time for your hour. I shall tell you the place of this scintillating cave, but a warning I must give as I send you to your grave. No matter your bravery or your audacity, there are powers out there beyond mortal capacity. From the powers of chaos, our doom is at hand. So go back to your home. Leave this land. Return to your loved ones, family, and friends. Enjoy your last days before it all surely ends.
I don't quite know how you do that. In that I have tried for years to write any poem that is more than 10 lines. And as soon as I get that far, the lines have got longer and longer and longer. And just the fact that you're able to hold that as a story is just incredible. So yeah, I remember you saying to me beforehand that it was something that you've written when quite a long while ago, and I think there are one or two places where you'll probably go, you know what, maybe this word or this word, but the rhythm's incredible to that. It really, really is incredible. Okay, so third on our readings is Kevin, who is setting himself up on his laptop and being cranially injected with a microphone. Here we go. See, we're not trusted anymore because it was my fault. Hang on, you're a little bit on the cheek there. I think it's a bit like a bumblebee. There we go. Not yet. Hang on. Let's get this up. How are we doing?
Bear with me.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
Kevin Elliot.
Hi, thanks for staying, everybody. Good to see you. This is the second chapter of my novel, Lightmaker. It's the first appearance of the recalcitrant, anarchic, swearing Miller, Caliper. Quite a character, I quite like him. I'm not going to give you much backstory because you don't. It's quite early on in the novel. So just let me get to the first part. I will do a little bit of a plug. I'm associated with a writing group in Oxford called the Oxford Writing Circle. We've recently published a short story collection. One of my stories is in there, short science fiction story called Go When the Light Turns Red. So this is available on Amazon. It's called Love with a Twist from Oxford Writing Circle. So it's well worth having a look. My work there and several other pieces there. But bear with me, just finding. Okay, so here's the my chapter, which I'm reading out tonight. It's not that long, but let me know what you think. Cider foamed into the glass. All lumps and saggy bends the glass was. Half was black, but it still held cider. The tinker had given it away, but Caliper found its use. Pour beer, cider, water, tea, even piss into a glass, and your liquid fitted no matter the strangeness. Cider followed orders. This drink was strong, and for all its kinks, the glass held a decent swallow. 2 gulps, and he'd not stopped thinking of himself as the cider. Caliper knew he could swear for 2 minutes without any repeating. Bear with me. Swear words coiled inside and lent him their fury. Sure, he'd imagined himself breathing fire and spit over the priests, but whenever they appeared with their black robes and long words, his anger drained, and like his glass, he'd bend around their orders. Afterwards, he'd hate the weakness living inside him, but he'd only grind his teeth and drink his cider. So there's your trouble, he thought. Resisting always comes easy when you're alone. Face a priest and you'll slink away like you always do, but tonight, well, darkness might let you escape. Tonight meant choice. 2 paths lurked there in his mind, twisted avenues curving between trees, and only one path would win. 2 futures to goad him. Both held threats, but your threats had different flavours. One route meant some class of safety, a miller's backbreaker jobs and a half-life spent licking priests' boots. He'd not know the other path until he'd walked it, but danger would drip from every branch, though maybe you needed menace to live. And there's the point. Reach the second path and you'll never scuttle back to the first. If Christina came tonight, Surely he'd find strength to touch his better future. Shadows outside stroked his tiny window, and for 1 second the evewood tree tops bit notches from the distant sun's arch. Light dipped away, and darkness flooded his room. Time for risks. Caliper fumbled underneath his table and plucked a candle from his hiding place. It popped and fizzed. Was this the wrong candle? No, he'd picked a normal one. Just a poxy one, like everything these days. If the guards caught him, they'd knock his teeth out, but he'd not drink in darkness. His thoughts had slid into place since Christina's first visit. Maybe cider helped. Tonight there'd come a single second where he'd have to decide. A sliver of time, a knife edge. But where would he find strength to stop his flinching? He drained the glass, twisting it to shake out the last drops. Caliper stood to touch the wires linking the stolen lanterns dangling from his ceiling. Each time Christina came, she'd guided him through these changes. The new gear wheels with their curved teeth had slipped in without trouble. He'd spent weeks adding those arching slits to his sails, and fitting them had taken a full day. But he ignored the pain to bring Christina's plans to life with wood and canvas. Wires everywhere, all linked to a brass box she'd had him steal from a church. Yesterday he'd nudged a windmill into running at quarter speed, and his home's sullen chatter had become a slick pulse, a hushed murmur of oiled speed. Changes in your windmill's heartbeat used to mean breaking your back hunting for stripped gears, but this new pulse had shaken dust from his ceiling. Run the windmill at full speed, Christina said these lanterns would wake. These new gears would also destroy his windmill, but his plan stood there, waiting for him to hoard the courage. Memories scudded past. A miller's evening routine repeated thousands of times. Running his hands over ropes, touching gear wheels so his fingers caught what his eyes missed, bundling twine round any cracks, cursing at torn sails. Was it 20 years? The resin stench never left his nose. But if Christina came today would make his last day as a miller. Light faded, and his windmill twitched under the evening winds, an old man grumbling before work. Rats had been a problem, but had not seen one for months. Everything Caliper touched these days felt worn. Grain came rough and hard. His flour came out coarse, no matter how he tweaked those gears. Did he imagine those brick walls warping and mortar weaving itself into a net of curves? Cider or Christina? Yes, Christina. The dawnward walls shuddered and his whole room stretched like cloth. Christina always made the world dance. Mist glimmered before his eyes, hanging there like before hollowing itself out to slide and billow, flowing into Christina's face. The back wall stayed visible as curves of watery smoke condensed to form her shoulders. Her arms swept down to vanish into its floor. Breath surged through Caliper's mouth. It's yourself. Christina's voice slid into his head. Her lips parted, but they weren't making these words. Caliper, is your signal ready? You still need my light? I tried everything, but your location remains hidden. Much here is broken. Part of me hoped you'd have trouble, Caliper said. The wind's here, man, and they're almost here. I've lanterns ready. They'll shine well, but you've not told me how wind becomes light. I'll explain when we meet, but I need your signal. Right now, I only know I'm dawnward of you. Guidance needs precision. I do this, and the church will chase me. They will not stop for breath. And stop, Caliper. Run your windmill slowly and stay a miller, and we'll never meet. Christina hovered a few feet away, her eyes pools of blue and her face tilted. You've decided? Did she see the doubt fester? Yesterday his hands had refused to string up the stolen wires, but had fought himself and won. Won for now. He still needed to sneak up on that knife edge of time without flinching. I decided long ago, so I did. His voice trembled. Bruises coated his face, and those finger cuts would become scars. But running this reworked windmill would destroy his old life. Yes, priests would come howling, but he'd know his direction. You'll know where I am, won't you? You'll guide me, Caliper asked. I've no returning once the winds take over. Make sure you're outside and head dawnward once you've made light. Christina raised her hand and her fingers hovered a half-inch from Caliper's cheek as her face rippled. I can't stay. It's your decision, but we must meet. Smile and a slow nod before her image faded. Walls surged back towards him as his space snapped back to normal. Taking the dangerous path should let him see Christina for real, free him from these sickening routines. He'd become cider without a glass. Let him resist for the next minute, resist the false safety of these stagnant years. A few more dark moments and the wind would build. Sweat tickled his eyebrows, and he collapsed into the wicker chair by the staircase to grab the bread and cheese he'd dumped there on the table. Mouldier than he'd remembered, but wolf fast enough and you'd not tell. His windmill quivered as the breeze grew. His knife edge drew near, and the temptation to damp down the windmill's speed gnawed at him. He could stay a miller and cart sacks of flour to the school and lease the village, mumble his way through church services. Keep busy, there's the key. 2 more candles to light. You were meant to squeeze work into the day, but your strongest winds came at night. Guards and priests used to leave millers alone, but these days they spied everywhere. Fresh winds brushed his cheek. The gears turned and his sails strained into motion before jamming. Splintering sounds drifted past. His sails fell silent as the building creaked, and Caliper choked back his swearing. You needed to listen. He knelt on the trembling floor to peer at the main gear wheel. A new tooth had sprung up from its socket to block the motion, and Caliper fished a mallet from his apron. Funny to think of a mallet being a knife edge, but his hand held his final chance to stay a miller. Perhaps acting brave was easier when done alone, but he could think of Christina. One smack knocked the tooth into place. Gear wheel snapped and flailed, and Caliper jumped back as life streamed through his work. Sails caught the wind and ruddy shadows flickered as the lanterns drank the wind and spat it back as light, brighter each second. Time to carve the sky. The windmill screamed as its beams splintered. Those lanterns flared violet white with each pulse of wind. Gust scattered shadows over his room, and resin paper ripped from the walls. His legs froze, the floor buckled. Planks groaned and tore apart, and the grindstones spat out stone chips. Caliper pushed himself downstairs. No saving the building. This illegal light meant rebirth. He snatched up his backpack and strode out to gulp the air, tart and fresh after the dust. Sails swooped a few feet above him, and violet light spilt over the hillock ahead. He'd watch. The miller left in him winced, but he kept climbing. He had 5 steps left to the peak when light surged. Part of the windmill's wall had collapsed. Blasphemy didn't need half measures, and Caliper turned, his home now made a screaming pillar of light, with sheaves of resin paper glowing red and shedding from the tower. Canvas ripped, but his sails blurred with speed, even while the building rocked, a trapped animal fighting for life. One lantern fell and shattered, while the others swayed. The left side of his windmill roared and collapsed. Broken timbers pierced the sidewalls. Everything else slumped forward. A grit-coloured growl had to be the grindstone freeing itself. One sail broke free to hurtle upwards before fluttering back and crashing into the forest, and the windmill's right side quivered there, a jagged spur scratching the night. Christina would see. So would the church. Sounds faded and light gutted into red, into black as dense thuds slapped the earth and wooden bones punched the grass. The windmill would have lasted centuries if the church had been here with their constant demands for repair, but now Caliper had a corpse and a grave for his miller's life. Victory smelt like brick dust and sweat, mixed with scorched resin. Fighting yourself left you panting. The second path hummed with danger, but his cowardice had died with the windmill. That glass must have smashed. He'd move and wait for Christina's next message. And now each step meant making his own light. Caliper stood and shook moisture from his overalls before walking down the hillock and wrapping himself in the night's clinging silence. Now he'd wait and hope for Christina's return. Fear churned inside. Guards would hurtle towards his criminal light and villagers would chase him for answers. He'd never undo this destruction. But would Christina return? Could she find him in this bitter night? Okay. Thank you. Just to say, I do have a blog. If you search for "Where's My Flipping Tea," that will bring you to my place where I hold my thoughts. Okay.
Thanks, Kevin. I did think we got about 4 minutes in, and I heard your voice just quaver a bit, so I got you a glass of water. Because having last year, I don't know if anybody remembers last year, I got halfway through a reading, and suddenly my throat completely seized.
Right.
So
It's not vodka then.
No. Sorry. No, it wasn't to put you off. No, that was fantastic. Right. So thank you very much, folks. That concludes our readings, and it should now allow us just a couple of minutes to set up, because Chris Jarvis has just arrived. Hello. Do you need a couple of minutes to set up and have everything ready to go? Right. Okay. So we're just going to be a couple of minutes to turn around, and then we'll be with you with a preview of Lave Revolution's audio drama. Thank you.
Hello. Oh, hello. So that was really camp. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Hello and welcome to this very special extended preview of Lave Revolution. I have to apologise that because I don't like spoilers, and I always feel that anything that happens sequentially from the beginning of a drama is not considered a spoiler. The first 3 minutes will be familiar, at least to some of you, because you'll have already heard it. But then hopefully it'll get into some stuff you haven't heard and should be quite exciting insight into how the story sets up. So this is Lave Revolution. This is an audiobook of Alan Stroud's novel, but rather than it being a read audiobook, sort of narrated, it has actually been turned into a full cast audio drama. It's got a huge cast, a huge number of scenes. It's incredibly long. It's about sort of around I think, I'm trying to remember, it's been a while, 5.5 hours-ish of audio drama, which is ridiculous, which actually means that Lave Revolution, as it stands, is the length of all the escape velocity I have produced to date. So it's, there's a lot of that. So yeah, that's that. And so basically, it's a full cast adaptation of the book. I haven't abridged any of the book. It's basically, essentially, if the story is in the book, it's in the audio drama. We have obviously had to lose narrated sections that didn't necessarily have. When I was adapting Alan's book, I was like, there's another chapter where a person walks around on their own and thinks to themselves. Thank you. But yeah, I'm not going to talk anymore. I'll talk at the end. I'll answer questions. I'll tell you about stuff and how ordering it and things like that. So let's go. Woo!
Ah, the bright flame of youth, recaptured for a moment in reading these pages. I was young once. I like to think I retain some vestige of the man typing words into a data slate. I recall his ambition, drive, and energy as he sought recognition and status for his work. Such times. A world ago, it feels. I surmise your security clearance has been earned, like mine, through hours of diligent service to our empire. It is only through the study of history that we might avoid a future mistake. Perhaps going as far as to believe Lave an opportunity lost. Those writing reports are seldom people who stir fleets to action and bring troops to invade worlds.
Elite Lave Revolution, an official Elite Dangerous audio adventure, based on the novel by Alan Stroud, adapted and directed by Christopher Jarvis.
Roleplay access is bi-directional. Please keep the airlock clear at all times. Thank you.
Seven, 6, 5. A federal run.
Bastard! Wasn't this supposed to be a friendly game?
Bills to pay, Devander. That fuel scoop I lost ain't gonna find a way home.
All the same.
All the same, he won. You got a problem with that?
This is a private room. How did you...
Trip the lock? In the old days, they used to let me go anywhere in the direct system, whenever I wanted. Now, which of you owns the Cobra?
I do.
Good.
Space!
Glad it was you. This way you get your credits back. Now, where did you hide them?
What? You're robbing his corpse now too?
Gotcha. Now, if you'll forgive me, I need a DNA swab. Best hurry up and collect. We're leaving.
Leaving? You just killed my friend.
Yep.
I don't even know who you are.
I'm the man holding the gun. This way. Come on.
Ow.
Damn it.
Ow. Hey.
Move and I shoot you.
Do you have access to the whole station?
Now you can move. And I suggest you do. Rapidly.
You just killed Finch outright. You didn't even speak to him.
Hurry up! This your ship? The Gallant?
Yeah. Security.
Get that door open!
Whoever you are, you won't get out of here.
Oh, says you. Open that hatch! Inside! If I'd have known you had a thumb key on this bucket, I'd have killed you too and sliced it off. Nav computer thumb keyed as well?
Iris recognition.
Well, best get and be recognised then. Don't forget, I've got the gun.
Security again. They've surrounded the ship.
Well, don't worry. They know they can't get us with those.
Only a matter of time before they bring up a cutter.
We'll be gone by then.
Who are you?
Your passenger. Just gonna ride your data feed.
Ship ident 546, Gallant, power down. Open your access port and prepare to be boarded. I repeat, ident 546, power...
That face hasn't changed in years. Now, if I just...
Docking clamps disengaged.
What did you...
Just a matter of sending a message to the right person, with the right amount of credits.
Bounty alert. Helderman Kell. This individual is wanted for several crimes against the Empire. Most notably, murder.
Yes, enough of that.
You're Helderman Kell.
But what if I am? Name means something to you.
You didn't need to kill him.
Who?
Finch.
Two can play that game. You're Pietro Devander, formerly Ensign Devander of the Alioth Interstellar Navy. Now occasional salvage, trade and miner. You inherited money and defaulted a commission, buying your own ship instead.
That information isn't on my data sheet. How do you know who I am?
I know because I need to know. That's my job. And the more questions you ask, the harder this'll be on you. Get the ship moving.
What about the doors?
You let me worry about those.
Proximity alert.
We're going to hit them.
Just a moment. Quickly now.
I go any quicker, we'll hit the doors. They're slow.
Now!
Okay. You'd better have a plan for the Vipers or this trip will be short.
Security can't follow if they can't launch.
You can do that.
For a moment. Like I said, it's nice to have friends. Only a matter of time before they override, so you best get us to hyperspace distance.
But you haven't given me a...
Salati. And fast.
Ships incoming. 4 Vipers.
Space. Must be a patrol. Nothing I can do about ships already out here.
I'll handle it. You'll find I'm full of surprises.
You've enough fuel?
Should have. Salati isn't close, but we'll make it. If I can put some distance between us and the patrol, less chance it'll come to a firefight.
Unless someone's waiting.
New radar contact.
What is that?
Asp Explorer. Why aren't you firing back?
You hijacked the wrong getaway pilot. We're equipped for mining.
Shield's gone.
Missile blocked.
Missile away.
You must have damaged the thruster. She's struggling to turn and follow us. Well done.
Bought us a few seconds. What are those markings on the hull? Is that an insignia?
Black double helix. Jump us out.
I can't. We're still too close to the mass of the station. Hyperdrive failsafe won't release. 10 seconds.
Vipers are loose. Security must have got the docking control back.
I see them.
Missiles incoming.
5 seconds.
They're getting closer.
Hold on to something.
Hyperdrive online.
Go!
And in the end, it was a simple matter of jurisdiction. With the victim from one settlement and the accused from another, I decided the best case was to drag all the parties into Ashoria and deal with it in my own domain. Being the capital of Ley, we cut through a lot of red tape.
I presume both sides accepted.
They have, Dr. Walden.
Well done, Prefect. You're looking tired, my friend.
I'm fine.
Even so, perhaps you should rest. Take a break from all this.
Doctor?
I have never seen you take advantage of the privilege of your position, Bertram. A man of your rank from an interstellar family. Your grandfather was the administrator of Lave Station for many years. Does it not occur to you to travel off-world and take advantage of Imperial medicine? You could have a new pair of legs grown in a very short time. Lave can't offer you such reward for your loyalty.
My power braces allow me all the mobility I need to discharge my duties.
Perhaps it sends a good message to the people of Lave. Even the most powerful man on the planet's surface is a slave to a simple pair of batteries.
Is there something you wanted to discuss?
There is talk of problems in the Northlands.
I hear nothing.
Well, so long as you have things in hand, I'll leave you to your work.
We reach through the curtain of terror and mythology to hold the hands of our brothers and sisters, to guide them through the darkness and give them light.
Neve, display northern border territory.
Acknowledged.
Neve, correlate local datanet scan for life signs.
Working. Results calculated.
Let's have them.
Prefect Cal,
Come in, Anna.
is that the Northern Territory? Looks like a wasteland.
It used to be forest 100 years ago. Now not a tree stands. The will of the good doctor. We are to look for trouble in the sector, but I can't see anything.
Then why has Dr. Walden... Oh, is it a test?
Everything is a test.
With your help and support, we follow a plan to return and populate the vast ocean of stars.
What news do you bring?
The prefect of Cadia said that the pressure of previous business arrangements prevented him attending this year's council earlier than 1700 hours.
And you told him?
I stated the nature of the present business made any delay inadvisable.
The result?
He'll be here, sir. Although he has requested a private conference beforehand. The rest agreed without reservation.
What else?
Development in the Darak system. Am I okay to...
Speak freely. The good doctor hears everything. A development?
Yes, the trade factor did not make his scheduled appointment to begin negotiations this morning. As a result, the grain contract went to the Archaman from Ogria.
That shipment was my responsibility. It's a Federation market we can't afford to lose. Do we have anyone in the system to find out what happened?
Unlikely, Prefect Cole. It is a long way.
And then get someone out there. Is that his dossier?
Yes.
Finch. Post a bulletin at the Castellan mining complex and on Lave Station. Minimal information, briefing en route when they accept. I'll record the detailed instructions in a moment.
Yes, Prefect.
Neve, begin recording briefing message for a bounty.
Recording.
Commander, thank you for accepting this mission. One of our operatives is missing, and we require information as to his whereabouts, and return an item of importance to Lavian trade interests. A swift response will be met with the most generous of rewards.
The thrones of Earth and Akanar shake at the mention of Lave.
You're wasted on trade. After a getaway like that, you'd be better outside the law.
You're still not answering my question.
No, I'm not.
What do you want with me?
You ever think I might be trying to protect you?
Protect me?
Yeah. The more a person learns about why, what, and who, the shorter their life expectancy.
I've seen your face. I'm dead the minute you have no use for me.
Might not shake out that way.
It will.
You close to your, late friend?
Finch. He traded out of Sirius. We met regularly for cards and did some runs together a few times.
How long you been meeting up?
4 years.
People don't hire me to kill cargo haulers.
So, what? We were in the wrong place and I had the faster ship? Pretty cold.
I guess.
Who were you supposed to kill?
You really want to know?
Better I die with answers than without.
Suppose Finch wasn't your friend. Would you still want to know?
Like you said, corporations don't hire assassins to kill cargo haulers.
No. But they do hire them to kill criminals and spies.
What?
Atticus Nathaniel Finch, born in a test tube. Manufactured by the very best scientists. Raised for 20 years as a proper little prince. All fake. Whatever he told you, all lies.
That's not...
Possible? Well, you go ahead and you believe what you want. Maybe he was collateral, and I was after someone else on the station. Eh? The one thing I'm not is a liar.
Suppose I believe you. Means you've a bounty to pick up.
Yeah.
And I'm a witness to your crime.
Indeed. My employers will make sure there's no record. Your friend's life will just disappear. Once we were off station, the incident logs were changed, written up the way they want it written. I go on to the next target and the next paycheck.
And you'll get rid of me?
Can't be helped now. You asked too many questions.
So what are you waiting for?
You're so eager to die. We're coming up on Salati Reach. A few minutes to go. No sense in rushing.
I want to know how long I've got.
Plan to make peace with your maker. Don't worry, you'll get fair warning. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do.
Maybe if I just...
Audio alerts routed to pilot earpiece.
How do you plan on doing it?
Venting cargo bay air pressure.
Well, you've been helpful. So I'll give you a good send-off. As we orbit the planet, I'll pack you in an escape pod and drop you into the atmosphere. Nice little cremation. I need your thumb and eyeball to operate the ship, of course, but you won't miss them after.
Cargo bay atmosphere depleted.
What about my ship?
Stays in dock and I'll take another ride. Happens a lot more than you think. We're not moving.
No, we're not.
You decided to grow some balls? Or got more questions?
If these are my last minutes, I want to end right. Like you said, no sense in rushing.
My gun! Get off!
Time you flew cargo!
Cockpit air pressure re-established.
Kel, can you hear me? Kel, if you're conscious, I've repressurized the cargo bay. Just don't upset me. Ship ident 546 requesting blue cobalt.
Pietro, that you?
Cargo secure. Any trouble your end?
Cleanup was a chore, but we've everything we need. Shame you couldn't save the target.
He was too quick. If I'd intervened, we'd have had no leads. I'll dump the prisoner off the ship and take his place at the rendezvous. He'll be wearing a Remlock survival mask. Just don't take too long picking him up.
Will do. Any problems?
No, but he took a swab for DNA and picked up some kind of metal chip. I'll take the chip. You'll want to process the swab. Check for a clone signature.
Understood. Maybe worth putting the chip in the analyzer for us. Coordinates sending.
Received.
You sure about this?
Not a lot of point catching the gun if you don't catch the money. Don't worry, I handled him. I'll handle them.
And there you go. Oh, thank you. Yeah, does anybody have any questions? Excellent. Obviously, either very late or very self-explanatory. So we've got Lave Revolution ready, available for pre-order here. I'm going to be sitting up at the desk with the ordering computer. You can actually get 10% off orders of Lave Revolution this weekend. We've got a code. It's actually across the entire store. So if you go to radiotheatreworkshop.com, it's 10% off everything with the Lavecon code. Yeah, and that's basically it. So I'm going to be up there. You can come grab me. Sorry, I should demonstrate it, really. Here we go. Hang on. There we go. So this is... Oh, God. Okay, now I've been told to demonstrate this. Now I demonstrate this for two reasons. One, because people go, oh, that's really nice. Another reason is because people buy these and then spend 3 days trying to open them. So I'll just demonstrate. So there you have it. That's an extended clip of Lave Revolution. I hope you enjoyed that. And I will be up on the table if anybody would like to pre-order and also talk to me about escape velocity, which is there anyone here that doesn't know what escape velocity is? That's fine, I don't explain what escape velocity is. So yeah, you can talk to me about that as well. So I will be up there. Thank you all very much.